I'm Hannah.
And I'm Polly.
And we'd like to send you a warm welcome from Australian Education Times. Today we get to speak to someone who has held a top position within his company in not only Australia but Ireland too. Although I'm too young to drive, we can all appreciate the success of Andrew Doyle, Managing Director at Audi Australia. Let's discover how Andrew achieved his success.
Tell us about your educational background.
I went to school in Melbourne, and then I studied after school at Melbourne University, and I did a Bachelor of Economics, and then I got a job at a company, and then afterwards I did a postgraduate study in marketing. So that's my background in education.
Where's better, Ireland or Australia?
Well, that's an easy answer. Obviously Australia. But,
Did you always intend to return to Australia?
well, I always wanted to return to Australia. Ireland is a beautiful country. I don't know how much you know about Ireland, but it's very green and very nice, and it's in Europe, of course. It's very close to Europe, so it was a wonderful experience to be there. And it's wonderful when you work for a big company, a big global company. You get the opportunity to move overseas to different countries with the company.
I heard my classmate comes from Ireland.
Oh, really? Do they talk funny?
No.
They have a funny accent, some of the Irish. When you go around, it's such a small country. There's only about 5 million people in the whole country, and they're much, much smaller than Australia as a country, but they've got very, very different accents all around the country. So we loved our time there, myself and my family, and we went to, I was very close to the Audi head office, which is in Germany. So it was a great experience for us, but it was wonderful to come home to my home country and the much better weather here in Australia.
Has the experience of working overseas helped?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a wonderful experience because when you get put into a new country and you have a whole new culture and a whole new environment, although everyone still speaks English, they're very different about the way they do things, and they have different backgrounds and different ways of doing things. So you become you very quickly become acclimatized to the new environment, and you learn new things and new experiences. So in different countries there's different economic success or strength, and also different ways of doing things. So when you come back is actually when I think you realise how much you've learned, because when you draw on your experience from being overseas, you can realise later on that, oh, that's right, I did this overseas, or I did this in another country, and it allows you to be a much better manager.
As the leading figure for Audi Australia, what do you think makes a good leader?
Well, I think you have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to really, really like what you do. That makes a big difference. So I would always encourage people to follow their dreams, which I think you hear a lot about, but it's important then because you do work for a long, long time in your career. So most of us do anyway. So you should like that job, exactly. And but as a leader, if you like your job, it's much, much more easy to be passionate about what you do. And when you're passionate about something, I think people follow you. If you're a strong leader, then you show that by your conviction and by the way you believe in something. And so as a leader then, it's important to show that you're passionate about what you're doing and what you believe the company should do. It's also important to have a clear vision about where you want to take the company, what's important for the company, because there's so many different things that you have on your table every day, different results and success and so on, and facts and figures. But at the end of the day, you have to step back a little bit from that and have a strategic vision about where you want to take the company and what's right for the brand, because the brand is a very important thing that you should always nurture and look after, especially a premium brand like Audi, so that we always have it positioned properly in this country.
Audi is on the heels of its competitors. How do you plan to motivate your staff to keep pushing on?
Oh, that's easy. You just give them an Audi to drive. No. Look, I think it's very important. What we say is for a brand like Audi, we really want to obviously be the best-selling brand, so it's important we sell lots of cars. But we also want to be more than that. We want our staff to be highly motivated. So for us, we want to be an employer of choice. We want people to want to work at Audi. So to do that, you have to offer a nice environment like we have here in our office. You have to offer flexible working conditions so that if people have personal things they need to do, we're flexible with what they need to do. Because it is, as I say, a hard job and it's a long job. We also are 8 hours ahead of Germany, ahead of Europe. So it means a lot of my staff have to speak to Germany late at night, their time, or very early in the morning, in our time. So it means that they are asked to do odd hours. So you have to keep them motivated. We do a lot of things. We have staff Christmas parties. We even did a staff sports day recently, where we took all of our staff, took them out of the office one day and took them down to a sports centre and played sporting games all day long, which you probably don't think people do in business, but it was a great opportunity and good fun for everyone to get to see each other in a different environment. So it was a good experience. So lots of things that you can do to motivate the staff, reward them obviously, and it's more than just paying them a good salary and have good conditions. It's about recognising them and rewarding them. So we also, when our staff have done, maybe they worked here for 5 years, we give them a little trophy to say, well done. We also take our staff to Germany, and they get to go to Germany and have a look around Europe and actually go to our production facility where we make the cars. So that's a big motivator for them too, when they can see how big this company is, because we only have 100 people here, but there's 70,000 people that work for Audi around the world. So it's a big, big global company. So there's a lot of things that we try to do to keep them motivated.
Audi Australia has the 2020 strategy. What do you think are the benefits of planning so far?
What you'll learn, I think, in university or at school is that a lot of companies would usually have a 5-year plan or even a 10-year plan, because you need to have a horizon to look ahead. So you need to really think about not where you want to be next week or next year, but where you want to be in 5 years' time. And it's a bit like driving a car. When you look up, when you drive a car, you can see any potential accidents ahead of you. If you're looking down, you can be in trouble. So the same with business. You want to look ahead into the distance and see what are the trends going forward, maybe the economic trends, or what's going to happen in Australia. What sort of cars do people want to buy in 5 years' time? What's going to be important for the best way to buy a car in 5 years' time? Will people still want to go to a dealership and buy a car? Or will they want to do it all online? Will they want to buy their cars online? So all these sorts of different things. So it's important to have a more strategic usually means also longer term vision about where you want to be. So we have a 2020 plan, and before that we had what we call a strategy 2015, or Route 15 we called it. And it's always usually about 5 years, 5 or 6 or 7 years ahead of where you want to be. And it also gives the company a direction then, and the staff a direction about where they want to go. And then we basically really put that down to, we want to be a profitable company, so we need to make money so we can actually keep on reinvesting. And we want to sell a lot of cars, of course. And we want our people to be happy, like I said before, so we want to be an employer of choice. And we want our dealers to also be profitable, so that they can reinvest, because we are asking them to spend money on new facilities when they build a new facility. So we have dealers all around the country. We have 37 dealers all around Australia, and we ask them they have to buy their building and they have to make it the right way so it looks like Audi. And in the future they'll have to probably invest in more digital platforms as well to be ready for the future. So it's very important to have a long-term strategy.
What makes a good long-term goal, and how do you measure if you're on track?
Well, I've probably answered a lot of that already as far as what's a good long-term goal is really something that is measurable. You might have heard of the term, your goal should be SMART, and that's an acronym for specific, so they should be easily defined, easily to work out. They should be measurable, they should be achievable, and they should be realistic, and they should have a time frame. And that's not a bad way to remember how you want to set your goals, so that people can understand them, what they mean, and that they are really realistic. It's okay to have a bit of a stretch to see if you can make it, but not so much that they're unachievable. So it's important that you set the goals in that way.
You have spoken before about quality and volume. Can you relate this to education or life in general?
Oh yeah, I think so. We always say that although, and that's what I said before about, although we want to sell a lot of cars, we want to do it in the right way, because when you grow and grow and grow, you must have solid foundations, and you must basically make sure that the quality is there. So it's very important for us when we sell a car to a customer that we don't just sell a car and then not care about the customer. We have to look after the customer the whole way through the process of buying the car, but then even more importantly, after they've bought the car, that we look after them if they have any technical problems or whatever. And I think that can be related also back to education. You know, it's very important that you have a strong and good education. It's one of the most important things you set up for your life, because, like I said about the international experience, you learn all the way through your life when you go through school, and then maybe if you choose to go to university or wherever you choose to go after school. So that's about building a solid foundation for your future, because you're at school for a very short time, but you're at work for a very, very long time. So that's why going to school and studying hard is the most important thing, which I'm sure you've heard many times before. But quality, therefore, is about really making sure you have in your education a very, very strong, solid foundation, so that you really are well equipped for the future. I'd say that's probably the most important thing.
Can you give our readers some advice on how to transition from education to full-time employment?
Yeah, it's tough because they are very different, I think. A lot of people in Australia, they might either decide to do an internship. We have a lot of people from Europe come over to Australia and do an internship where they might spend 6 months with us, and it gives them a flavour for what it's like. I think we probably refer to it still as work experience here in Australia, where you might actually go into a company and think, what are they doing at these desks all day long? But it is important that you probably get a flavour for what it's like, and for if you don't know what you want to do when you grow up, which is always a difficult question to answer, it gives you a chance to realise what you think might be something you'd love to do. And for me, I was lucky. I always knew I wanted to work with cars and in the business of selling cars and working with cars, and more importantly, you know, all the really, really cool cars that are designed by Audi, for example. But so I would recommend that students really get as much experience as they can. Again, coming back to my point before, you know, you work for a long, long time, so you really want to make sure you make a decision that you get into a career that is something you love, because you want to be passionate about it. And that's why I think a lot of people who are happy in their careers, it's not like going to work as such because you love going to work, because it's something you enjoy doing. And if you're going to be working for 40 years or so, you want to make sure you enjoy it. So I would recommend that moving from school or education to a career, that people really take their time to work out what's important to them, what they really enjoy doing. Go overseas, maybe spend some time, maybe working at other companies, get some experience, ask people questions, be bold enough to go and ask people for an interview. Come to a company like Audi and ask Audi what it's like. A lot of people write to us and say they don't know what they want to do, so can I come and speak to you or speak to some of your general managers about what you do? I think that's a really proactive and strong way to do things if you're not clear about what you want to do. But it's very important that you make the right decision, and I think then you'll have a very happy career.
Thank you, Andrew, for giving us all that insight into your journey and for all helpful advice you have given. I have one final question for you. Can you have a free car?
A free car? Okay, maybe a small one. And then you have to water it every day and it grows bigger.
That sounds cool.
I hope one day we can give you a real Audi. But thank you very much for interviewing me, and I hope my answers were helpful for you. And I wish you all the best with your school.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.